Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my May and June book haul. As always, I will first be talking about the books that I bought for myself, got as a gift, or received from the publisher, and then I will also be including the books I checked out from the library. So let's get started. The first book I hauled in May was Things We Lost to the Water. I don't know much about this. It was my book of the month pick for May. I know that I'm pretty confident the protagonist is Vietnamese, the author is Vietnamese, and I think it's something about a family divided and stuff like that, but honestly, I don't know much. It just sounded really, really good, so that's why I picked it. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. I already read this. I'm looking forward to talking about it in a future recent reads video, but this is essentially literary fiction. It's historical fiction. It's set during the time of slavery, and we follow primarily these two enslaved young men who are queer and essentially the shit they go through as they try to live their authentic lives, and everyone around them is either trying to, how do I say this, basically like embrace them or destroy them, even though all of them can see how beautiful what they have is. So it's kind of that. It's also incredibly heartbreaking. Like this kind of messed me up, but I'll talk more about that in another video. Next, I got the Binti trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor. All I know is that this is a sci-fi. I think it's about a young woman who wants to go to like a particular university, college type of thing, but the people from her planet don't really go outside of their planet. And so it's very unusual for her to apply to this school, get accepted, and decide to go. I think that's what this book is about, but honestly, I only got it because I've heard great things about this author, and it's a novella trilogy, so I'm like, I probably can get through these relatively quickly. So yeah. And I'm going to be reading the first one in July for the Interstellar Book Club, which hopefully, if everything works out, I will be a guest co-host. So that will be my first time being a guest co-host in a book club live show discussion. So we'll see how that goes. The next book I got was Truth or Beard by Penny Reid. I have zero idea what this book is about, like zero, no clue. I just know it's a romance. I've heard good things. It's like a long series and I probably won't read the whole thing, but I can at least give the first one a shot and see if I enjoy it. The next book I got was The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. This is a romance, childhood best friends to friends with benefits to lovers. It was a lot of fun. I already read it. I had a good time. Wasn't my favorite Talia Hibbert, but again, that's not what this video is about. It's essentially about, is this the one with the author? No. Yes? Listen, I'm not even going to give a summary because I'm not entirely sure I'm remembering it correctly. So let's just leave it at, it's another Talia Hibbert. Of course, I will never regret reading a Talia Hibbert. So even though it wasn't my favorite, it was still a good time, and I will forever continue reading more of Talia Hibbert's books. The next book I got was When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nhi Vo. This is the sequel to The Empress of Salt and Fortune, which I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was really well written, so I wanted to get the sequel of that. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm sure it's going to be as phenomenally written as the first novella. So I don't know anything about it. I just know that the first one, we follow this kind of historian type character, and they are essentially collecting the stories of people. I don't know if this one kind of follows in the same vein where we're still following that character collecting more stories, but that's more more or less what the first one is about. The next books I got, I don't have them physically to show you here, even though they're all physical copies, because they're signed exclusive editions. And right now where you see me, it's at a different house. I wasn't about to pack my super special edition books to bring here when they could potentially get damaged when they don't need to. So, all of that being said, the books I'm talking about is I got 2 copies of Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater. Yes, 2. One of them is signed and personalized to me, I think, and has an exclusive dust jacket. The other one is the Owl Crate Special Edition, which also has an exclusive dust jacket and is signed by Maggie. I will probably insert pictures here of those special editions so you see what I'm talking about. And then I also got signed and personalized copies of The Raven Boys and Blue Lily Lily Blue, because those are my favorite books in the Raven cycle, and I was already going to be spending a lot of money on Maggie because of the new book she has, because of Mr. Impossible. So I was like, let's just go all the way, let's just risk it all. So I went crazy. Listen, Maggie has her issues, but I just vibe with her writing, so I'm just gonna acknowledge she's chaos, but her writing just works for me. And then there was one book that I should have hauled in April, but I don't think I did, and that's Firekeeper's Daughter. So I'm really looking forward to this book. It's by an Indigenous author. I think it's a kind of mystery type book, YA mystery. I'm not 100% sure. But I've heard like mixed things about it, but I'm really looking forward to it. I got it because Libro FM had this thing where like independent bookstore day or something like that. If you bought books from an independent bookstore, sent them the receipt, you could choose a free audiobook. And so I went for Firekeeper's Daughter. So again, really excited to read it. As for my May library haul, I got the 3rd volume of The Way of the House Husband by Kosuke Ono. I'm not holding volume 3 in my hands right now. This is volume 4, which I guess I'll haul them both, but I technically checked this one out in June. So I've really been enjoying this manga series. So of course I've continued reading about my ex-Yakuza house husband living man, because he's everything. He's everything to me. I want him to be my husband. And there's another woman in here that's also kind of like him, ex-Yakuza. I want her to be my wife. They are both chaotic and incredible, and I can't wait to pick up the 4th volume. I already read the 3rd one, really enjoyed it. The next book I got from the library was The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. I got this as an audiobook. I finally finished the duology of what's the first one called? The Wrath and the Dawn. Yes. So I finally finished this duology. I was kind of lukewarm about the sequel, but ultimately I'm happy I finished the series and followed through with it. Essentially, the first one is a retelling of the 1001 Nights. I really enjoyed the first one, so that's why I picked up the sequel and why I don't regret having picked up the sequel. So, the next book I got from the library was One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter. I buddy read this with Steph over at Coffee Over Apples. I will link her down below. I absolutely love my buddy reads with Steph. 1, it keeps me accountable. 2, it gives me someone who knows what I'm talking about to talk to about a book. So it's always really fun. This is essentially nonfiction. It's a series of essays about her experiences being Indian Canadian and being a feminist and all these different things. Honestly, my memory is kind of vague, and I don't really make these hauls for like comprehensive summaries. So that's just a little taste of what this is about. The last book I got in May from the library was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is Arthurian legends reimagining, remix, whatnot, and I loved it. It was so good. I will talk about it more later, but essentially, I love this retelling slash reimagining of the Arthurian legends using a Black lens and talking about privilege and systemic racism and systemic oppression is just so good. It's just so good. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. Now, as for the books I got in June, the first one is On the Hook by Francisco X. Stork. I got this from the publisher. I'm really looking forward to reading it. It is essentially, I think, about this teenager who either his brother or someone he knows gets murdered, and I think he's trying to figure out who did it and potentially get retaliation for that murder. That's about everything I know or recall. I know that when I read the summary, it sounded very, very interesting, but it's kind of foggy at the moment. I just know that I really do want to read it. I also got Gear Breakers by Zoe Hana Mikuta. I got this from the publisher as well. I annotated it. My review for this should already be up on my channel. I really, really enjoyed this. It's essentially a sci-fi dystopian novel where there are like this huge robots and they're essentially the gods now on Earth, I guess, or on the planet. And these robots are piloted by these half human, half robot people. And so it's about the one pilot who is half human, half robot, and a gear breaker who is one of the rebels trying to destroy these mechanical, huge robots. So, of course, it's like a hate to love romance, slow burn romance, but honestly, it's not even the central part of the story. The central part is really these two girls and their frustration and suffering living through this world that they're in. So, would highly recommend it. I also got from the publisher Dear Diaspora. I think this is a poetry collection. Really looking forward to checking it out. I won't read it for a while yet because I got it from NetGalley, or was it from the other one, Edelweiss or Edelweiss, however you say it. So whichever it is, I know I got it from them, but I don't think it comes out for a while. So I will eventually be reading it. I think whatever I read sounded interesting, but I can't remember at all what that was. I just know it's poetry, so I really hope I enjoy it. I also got from the publisher through NetGalley or Edelweiss, Imminence. This, I think, is a novella. I think it has something to do with like a woman. It's either a woman scorned or a woman going through something very emotional. And it sounded something like it would be like a deep dive into the psyche of this woman. And so that's kind of what intrigued me about it. And I'm also very excited to get around to reading it and seeing what it's all about. It's also a working translation, which I think the original is in Spanish, but I didn't want to buy it in order to read it, so I'll just read the translated version in English. But technically I did want to actually read the version in Spanish since I can, but I decided I didn't want to spend the money. So the last book I got was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. I picked up a Bridgerton book like the clown that I am. And of course I didn't even start in the beginning because this is who I am as a person. But here's the story. I am doing clinicals, aka observations, at a public school in the fall, and they require a background check. So I had to get my fingerprints done. So I went to the place to get the fingerprints done. It was super busy, but I didn't want to leave, but I didn't bring any books. And so I went to a Walgreens, and it was between this one and I think the second book in the series, whatever the fuck it's called. And this one sounded like a Cinderella retelling, so I was like, of the two choices, this seems like the safer one. So I went with this, and it was a choice. It was a choice. Basically, the basics of it is that it started out really good and then crashed and burned and became a total disappointment. So such is life. But I feel like telling you that it's essentially a Cinderella retelling is enough. But whatever. It's about one of the Bridgerton brothers. She is the bastard child of an earl. They kind of start having a thing, and he asks her to be his mistress, but she says no, and then it's like a whole thing. But essentially, the Cinderella element is that they meet at a ball, but she's like in hiding or whatever. Like, she's concealed. It's a masquerade, and supposed romance ensues. So I'll be having a lot of fun reviewing that one. I'm still thinking about whether I'll do a single book review for it. I don't think so, but it could have been fun if I had done it sooner. As for the books I got from the library in June, the first one is Boys Run the Riot. I got the first volume of this manga series. Again, enjoyed it. Solid start for a manga series, and it's essentially about this transgender boy who is really, really into fashion, and he's not out yet as a trans boy. And he meets this other guy who's like, oh, let's start a fashion brand. And it's about them doing that and basically collecting friends along the way, I guess. The next book I got from the library was Hot and Badgered by, what was her name again? Shelley Lawrenston, whatever. This is a shifter romance. I got it because I originally thought the guy was the one who turned into a honey badger, but it turns out it's the woman who turns into a honey badger. And I still want to read it, but like, the vibes are just not the same when I don't have the hilarious element of it being the dude who turns into a honey badger. Apparently, I think he turns into a bear. Boring. Who gives a shit? Anyway, I checked it out because of other things that I was reading in June. Ice Planet Barbarian. So I was like, let me just commit to all these romances that I have always had on my radar but never actually got around to reading. So we'll see if I get to it. Then I checked out the audiobook of The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I got it because I owned the physical copy, but I didn't really see myself getting around to reading it physically anytime soon. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just read The Haunting of Hill House. And so, like, what is this about? A group of people who go into a haunted house and the shit that happens to them while they're there. That's it. That's the book. I feel like I talked about it as if I didn't like it. I rated that book 4 stars. I really fucking enjoyed it. I think it's a really good classic horror novel. Like, immaculate. Like, the writing style is very, very, very good. I also checked out Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Moore. Moore? However you say her last name. It's basically about our protagonist, Gideon, who's a cavalier going with her necromancer to this place. I don't know. They talk about everything as houses, but I'm not entirely sure what exactly that means. So they go to the first house, and she's there to support the necromancer becoming a lictor, which is basically a super-powered necromancer with immortality. And the thing is that there's a bunch of other people there as well trying to do the same thing, and they start dying. And no one knows why. So that's this. This was chaos. I will talk about it in detail in a future video. But essentially, I enjoyed it, but there were serious flaws. I also checked out the first 2 volumes of Say I Love You. This is because I wanted to read more manga, but I wasn't sure what, and I wanted it to be cute. And a friend, Anna from Books and BS, recommended it to me. So I already read the first volume. I was meh about it. It was okay. It was fine. I'm going to be reading the second volume to see if I want to continue with the series. So yeah, but it's essentially about this girl who doesn't have any friends, who gets bullied at school, and it's about her finally forming a friendship with a guy and falling in love and blah, 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 blah. I also checked out Written in Starlight by Isabel Ibanez. This one is the sequel to Woven in Moonlight, which I read last year and enjoyed. And so I have no actual clue what this is about. I think this follows another character from the first book. And yeah, I had put this in my list of books of series that I want to finish. So that's why I checked it out. Want to see if I enjoy it. And if I do, I'll eventually be getting both books in the series because they're so beautiful. Like, I know this has the shine of the library thing, but I think the covers of this series are so gorgeous that I'm like, if I enjoy them, I'm for sure getting them just for the aesthetics alone. Anyway, the first book, I think it's kind of like the whole thing where the princess or something of the kind has a double, and the double infiltrates the opposite kingdom or whatever it is and learns some shit, does some shit, revolution type of shit. Listen, I have zero brain cells. I'm describing all of these books terribly, but whatever. That's kind of what's going on in the first book. All you really needed to know is that I enjoyed it and I'm looking forward to this one. The next book I got from the library was The Unbroken by C.L. Clark. I know absolutely nothing about this. I know it's a Black author. I know it has sapphic characters. I know protagonists, like not just characters, protagonists. And it's a fantasy, so I'm looking forward to it. It's chunky though. Like, this is chunkier than I was anticipating, and I'm low-key scared. But whatever, I have it in my hands. I've heard really, really great things, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if I enjoy this. The last book I checked out from the library was The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. I have previously checked this out from the library and have not read it. This is my second or third attempt at checking this out to see if I finally read it. I've heard great things. I've already read The Weight of the Stars by this author. It wasn't my favorite, but since I've really seriously heard amazing things about The Wicker King, that's why I still wanted to give The Wicker King a shot. And because it's essentially gay boys, one of them is kind of losing his mind into this strange, mysterious, magical world of some sort. And honestly, I just wanted to read it because there's like a visual component to it. Like, as he starts going unhinged, the pages start getting dark like this and progressively darker. So I was like, I need it to be this physical copy. So hopefully I finally get around to this and hopefully also love it. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.